I have to be so ugly?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to One Piece Odyssey. Oh yes, there has been many One Piece games over the many years it's existed. Of course it has. It is one of the most popular, and rightly so, manga and then anime, just full stop. I love One Piece, I will fully admit that unashamedly. It's great, and every week waiting for the latest chapter is agony. A huge thank you, of course, to Bandai for letting me check out the game early for you guys and see what it's all about. It is very much appreciated. And this game then is not just the latest, but I'm quite confident in saying the greatest One Piece game that has actually been made. Basically, if you're here for just a quick, well, what does it feel like? Imagine your favorite Final Fantasy game, the turn-based, the strategy, the characters, the story, the RPG elements, the depths of the combat, all of the items you find, how you set up your team, the moves that you choose, how they interact with each other. Final Fantasy, right? But One Piece. And that's really awesome to me. It really is, and it just works shockingly well when you're kind of used to One Piece games that act as essentially Dynasty Warrior-esque clones where you're mowing down many bad guys and not really thinking too much about it, or a straight-up fighting game. I'm about 10 hours or so in now, though I will only use footage from the first couple of hours as I don't want to spoil anything, and if you like One Piece, you will probably like this game, almost certainly. If you like turn-based RPGs, you will almost certainly like this game. Don't expect massive areas to explore. Their exploration is definitely key, and there is definitely more complexity in something like Final Fantasy, but what here is definitely not shallow by any means. There's a lot to think about, and it's not just stretchy punch things in the face, though you can definitely do that too. Yes, that bazooka just moved that beetle to an entirely different location on the battlefield, because despite us being in a turn-based combat, it's actually spread out. There's a couple of your characters over far left with a couple enemies, you and someone else over on the far right with a couple enemies, and where they're stood in relation to each other is important, and certain attacks will shift where the enemy stood. You can swap where your guys are stood back and forth, use people at different ranges to attack people in different AoEs or single target, combinations of debuffs and ailments and elements and statuses, as well as items and more tricksy-based moves like making opponents hallucinate or just full-on faint. There is actually a lot to choose from, and it's really not quite as simple as just, hey, I'm gonna choose my best move every turn and do a lot of damage. There's also 3 types of attack that you have to choose from, and each type of attack, so power for example is one of them, is more effective against another type of enemy. So you might have a power attack against a technique enemy, and you have to decide if that's actually something you want to go, and each of the Straw Hat represent a different one of the 3 types, Luffy of course being power. That's really neat, and you actually have a surprising, and I definitely was surprised by it, amount to think about when going about taking down the harder enemies. And they're no pushovers, they really aren't. Mostly because, you know, the crew has been stripped of its power. Error-wise, it is set post-time skip, but before Jinbei. That's about the most non-spoilery way I can say this. I mean, look, you're clicking on a video to learn about the latest One Piece game. You're kind of expecting to find things out about kind of modern era One Piece, what's currently happening. I would definitely recommend, if you want the purity of the show / manga, whichever you're into, to be maintained, well, maybe get within a couple hundred episodes or chapters of where we currently are before indulging in this game. Otherwise, you're probably good to go. The actual environments are really pretty, it's very vibrant, it's very One Piece, as is the character interactions. It really does feel like a official One Piece adventure. The Straw Hats all act, well, like you'd expect them to, and it makes sense with this having the blessing of Oda, of course. You already know if you like Straw Hat shenanigans or not, and that will tell you a lot whether you will enjoy this experience. The creatures on the island are something else. They're so One Piece. They're mental, they look weird, but also so endearingly so. And in battle too, the actual attack animations are that kind of over-the-top awesome that you come to expect as well. It feels very satisfying to hit things. The new characters that are introduced are a lot of fun, and the main guy you'll meet early on, who is Adio, is quite compelling as well. He has a lot of... but it is quite fun, and a lot of the time you can't help but, laugh with him. The other new character is how they justify, well, you being weakened, because obviously you start full Straw Hat strength, effortlessly destroying everything, but this is an RPG. You have to build up, you have to have a reason to struggle, and the way they justify it, well, a little bit, okay, it has to be done in some way, and it is woven into the story actually quite well. There is larger world stuff that gets involved too. Of course, the Navy has a little peek. You will meet a lot of characters that you know and love, and bottom line here, it's just a really solid, fun, turn-based RPG, but with the One Piece skin, and that's a recipe that you will instantly know if you're in for or you're not. I found myself really enjoying the actual traversal as well, walking around the map, stretching and jumping gaps with Luffy. Every single character, and you can run around and swap to and play as them all, has a different way they contribute to out-of-battle exploration. Luffy can stretch around the place and destroy walls, Zoro can cut down metal gates, Chopper can fit in small tunnels. As weird as I think it is that Chopper's entire role here is to be small and go in the hole like the animal do, but hey, that's what it is. Nami can find extra treasure while you're walking around, and everything along those lines. It's kind of really well thought out how everybody operates. The few negatives that I do have here is, I think the first sort of 3 to 4 hours of the game are insanely railroaded. You're not allowed to split off the path, you're not allowed to explore, you get told where to go by the characters and they won't let you differ, and there's story justification for it, but at the same time you kind of do really like what you're seeing and want to go see more of it, but you got to get things done, and you got to get to the point where you understand all the mechanics and what's going on, and then you can kind of operate as you want to. But it is certainly something that you might find a little bit, oh come on, when you first start. And I think when it first introduces you to the combat system, there is a lot of systems to the combat systems, a lot of mechanics that interact and overlap, and getting to grips with it. I might just be really stupid, but it definitely took a little bit to get into the groove of, but once you're there, you're there. There's lots of little flavors things where you can interact with various objects in the environment, get a little comment from one of the crew members, and that works out as well. You can take your time with it and get a lot out of it. And I think the overall word here is charming, right down to something little as you can set up a bonfire with everyone, and you're not allowed to leave this bonfire kind of situation until you all have a little party, and it's a lovely little party scene, and it gives you bonus experience, and you have to watch it, and you're there smiling along because you obviously like these characters and everything that they've done, and you feel like, yeah, we're part of the crew, woo, and it does give you that kind of feeling, and that's nice, isn't it? So, that's a kind of light, hopefully spoilery-free look at what you'll be faced with. As I said, charming, turn-based RPG in the One Piece world. Think very Final Fantasy, but One Piece, and you will have a great time with it. For now then, like if you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.